Let's quickly talk about static members. We'll see this a lot in Android development, and you'll see a lot in Java, really. And again, this is review. I'm not going to cover all the details. Hopefully you learned about this in your Java 1 class. I'm just going to create a new project here. So File, New, Java Project, and I'll just call it Static Members, all one word, camel case, and then hit Finish here. And I'm going to close this out from our last segment and go ahead and create my app driver class. So right click on the source folder, do new class, and I call mine app driver. You can call yours main or whatever. Some people call them main. Then I'm going to have it create that main method stub for me. So there we have it. And I'm going to go ahead and create a class that has a static member in it. Should I put it in a different package like we were talking about in the last segment? Yeah, I think for now we'll just put everything in the default package, so we're not going to worry about packages. So anyways, let's create some class, any class. Let's just create a spaceship class for the heck of it. So I'm right clicking on the source folder, I'm doing new and then class, and then we'll call it spaceship. And going back to our packages discussion, look at this warning up here. It's saying use of the default package is discouraged. Now we should like I was saying in the previous segment, we should put our classes in packages, but since we're just playing around here, I'm not going to worry about it. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to create a public static member variable. Let's call it int public static int max speed. So we're going to say that we'll just set it to 100 for now. So for this little imaginary example, we'll say that every spaceship has a maximum speed of 100 miles per hour. So what does that mean? It means that every single instance of a spaceship that we make, it's going to have the same max speed. And when I say every single instance, I mean because we're using the static keyword right here. So let me show you. Let me explain it a little bit better here. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back over to my app driver here, and I'm going to delete this comment code out a little bit. I always like to do that. And I'm going to create a couple instances of our spaceship. So I'm going to go spaceship S1. The identifier is going to be S1 for this instance. Call the constructor new spaceship. And then I'm actually going to create another instance of a spaceship and call it S2. So I have two instances of a spaceship, two objects, S1 and S2. Now I'm going to take S1 and I'm going to change its max speed. I'm going to set it to 50. So I did that to S1. Now what's going to happen when I print out the max speed for S2? So I'm going to do system out print line S2 dot max speed. And I'm using the IntelliSense here. I don't know if I mentioned that, but the nice thing about Eclipse is when you start typing code, it tries to pop up the IntelliSense to show you the options that you have. And it'll save you a lot of time typing, and it'll prevent some typos too, so you should use the IntelliSense. Okay, so I've got S1 here, the max speed. I've taken the max speed property on S1 and set it to 50. So I've got a separate instance, S2, and I'm going to read out the max speed. What do you think is going to be written out? Is it going to be 100? because that's what we set it to back in our class, or is it going to be 50? Well, let's find out here. So I'll save this, and then I'll hit the run button right here, and then look down over at the code, and sure enough, the max speed is 50 on S2. Well, that's weird. I set max speed to 50 on S1. That's a totally different instance. Well, that's what static variables do, is they apply to all instances of your class. So if I change it for one of them, I've changed it for all of them, for all instances. Now, we normally wouldn't do something like this. Normally, static variables are like configuration settings. We'll get into this more as the course goes on, but normally you wouldn't change a static variable like this. And in fact, there's a warning right here, and it's saying the static field spaceship.maxspeed should be accessed in a static way. What does that mean? You shouldn't change a static variable through an instance of the object. What you should do is use the class name. Since it affects all instances, just use the class name. So the right way to do this would be spaceship. So I've just, instead of using my instance S1, I've just used the class spaceship.maxspeed equals 50. Now I've changed the max speed for every single instance that's out there in my app, and any future instance that I create, the max speed is going to be 50. Alright, and you can see the same warning right here. It says the static field spaceship.maxspeed should be accessed in a static way. See, and they're complaining because I'm accessing it through S2, an instance. You shouldn't change static variables through instances. So to satisfy the compiler, I'll just do spaceship and use the class name. Now, I'll go ahead and save that. Why did I make this uppercase right here? The reason is because I want to make this a constant. And in Java, when you create a constant, by convention, all the letters are uppercase, so that when somebody's reading through the code and they come across max speed, they can tell just by the way it's written that it's a constant. Now, a constant means that it can't be changed. And to make it a constant, I use the final keyword. So I've just added the final keyword to this line of code, and now I'll save that and go back over to my app driver, and you'll see that there's an error now. And the error, we'll look at the error here, it says max speed cannot be assigned. Well, I've set it to final over here, and it's saying you can't change it, and we're trying to change it right here. So and you'll see this a lot in Android development. Like I said, they're kind of like used for configurations for a class. That may not make sense now, but hopefully it will make sense once we get into this a little bit more. But anyways, I just wanted to make sure you've seen this public static final, and then all uppercase for your identifier name. We'll be making a ton of these throughout the course. All right, again, let me know if you have any questions on this stuff.